Oliver Mtukuzi coming through there with Ndakuvara coming through on Channel Africa. Good morning, loves. How are you waking up today? I'm hoping that the day has been very kind to you. Quite a symbolic day we have when we look at the universe, when we look at the moon. It's going to be a little bit more red than usual. Perhaps you could say I'm honoring it. Maybe you can check the YouTube to see what I look like, you know? We just put in a little bit more effort in the mornings. We want to wake up looking like Egyptian queens and kings and draped in gold. Actually, speaking about spirituality and generally the symbolism, right? I feel like you can never get to a point in your life where you are complacent, right? I know that sometimes you get to a point where you're like, life ain't that bad, things are going well, money is flowing into your life, and, you're looking good, smelling good, you're loving good, maybe your crush is crushing on your back. But there are times where you kind of just need to make sure that you keep rejuvenating yourself spiritually. And it's very important for you not to find yourself becoming complacent with the knowledge and the power that you have spiritually, right? And what am I referring to? There is a beautiful conference coming up, an inaugural conference called the Holy Conference of 2025. It's happening on the 11th of October in Johannesburg, and the theme is Ecclesia, Believe Again and Believe Anew. And this gathering promises to be a defining moment for leaders, worshippers, and seekers alike. And joining us is Nizenande Machi, who will be exploring what it means to nurture spiritual wholeness in a world that often feels fragmented. Nizenande, good morning.
Morning, Nsako.
How are
Morning to you and your
you?
listeners.
How are you?
I'm good this morning. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm happy to have you here, girl. So let's talk about this. I mean, I'm excited. It's the Holy Conference. Believe Again, Believe Anew. Quite fitting considering 2025 was a year where people really thought they were going to hit big, but it didn't really go as anticipated. So let's talk about this amazing conference.
Happy to do so. As you said, it's a conference really that is centered in kind of Christ-centered / biblical spirituality in particular. But it is really an opportunity for people, and it's making a call for people to be reintroduced to a God who is quite relevant and present for our time. I think the Christian faith has suffered all kinds of ills over the years, especially being rendered more and more irrelevant, especially in pop culture. It has struggled to define what culture is nowadays. We're looking at culture in terms of fashion. It's being defined by music. It's being defined by food a lot because of social media. But there is an emerging desire from what I observe and see, because I've got over close to 15, 20 years worth of experience in leadership development.
Yeah.
And more the inquiry at all levels is, but how do I make meaning out of life? And how do I make sense of my life such that I am fulfilled? And I'm calling that a desire for holy. I'm calling that a desire for more from within, even though you are surrounded by so much. There is something more that people desire. And so Holy Conference is starting to meet that need. And because it's at a level and a reality in pop culture that's filled with discourse, that's filled with activism, I really have a desire for us to present to God who can meet us at that level, who can reason, who we can consider, who we can have different opinions about, but still come back to love and faith and hope. And I think that is a big kind of background about it.
Yeah, I want us to go on a quick tangent. Why are we so afraid of questioning God and his works? Because I feel like, is that not kind of the build up to identifying your purpose, identifying the why we're here? Why are we so afraid of asking questions in the spiritual world?
Yeah, it's a big question you're asking, Nzako, and I do want to be a little bit sensitive because the reality is it's rooted in two things. I think it's rooted in fear, number one, because we have struggled, especially the people who have given us their God in inverted commas, which are often our parents or our peers or someone older that you look up to. They themselves have given us a God that you come to where I would say there's some version of a break in intimacy.
Wow.
because if it's where you have intimate relationship that you have full freedom to express both the sorrows and the joys, both the fears and the excitements, the pain and the injustices. And for a long time, that reality of ourselves has been isolated from, the pious version, the loving version, the good child. And also, so much of our socialization around the faith is religious, and religion is about what you do in order to be approved. And so that's
Wow.
one part of it. And then I think the second part of why really we're afraid of questioning or reasoning with God is because I think there's an underlying unbelief that firstly he won't necessarily answer or respond,
Yeah.
or that we will be exposed to not know, or we will be judged and damned to hell.
Yeah.
Think about it for yourself. Let's even lift it from the faith. Think about it for yourself and Sako. If you were like me in my upbringing, I mean, to ask a parent why, why,
I mean, I did. I
why
always
must
got
I do
lashings
this?
for it, but
There we go. That's exactly what I'm saying.
yeah.
Is we don't want God to give us lashings, because imagine being given lashings by the creator of all the earth and the universe. I mean, what kind of lashing will that be?
Yeah.
Especially when the threat of his anger is hell. So I think there's a real disconnect in the God of love and grace and mercy in our own framework of who God is, with the God of fundamentalism, the God of law, the God of justice. And many of us are trying to merge him in our minds and in our hearts.
It's like almost trying to like bring the Old Testament God and New Testament God. And there's a joke that flies around amongst us.
Absolutely.
There's a joke that flies. We could see, kids have this funny way of softening people. Hey, Jesus even softened God at
Yes.
some point.
Yes. He was like, my father, I would see just a little.
Like, relax, boy. So I want to get into some of the topics that we're going to be uncovering here, because I find it very interesting the way we view our relationship with religion holistically. So not necessarily just Christianity, but there's a sense of lack of accountability, especially for our own lives. I feel like we make religion the weapon or the measurement of accountability. So if you are inherently lazy and stagnant right now, like you're not actually putting in the work, we just say God's time. And it's like, oh, dude, no, he gave you some things to do and you're just not doing them, right? So I want us to talk about some of the topics that we are going to be uncovering in this conference and how they relate to some of the real things that are happening in our world today.
Yes. I love that, because it's so accurate in Sako, and a good representation of where we all are in the main, without being too generalist. I think there's a reason it was entitled Holy. We went back and forth, and I went back and forth to say, must it be so glaring and so pungent a name?
Yeah.
And I think this is the whole point, is holiness, as I have understood it, and I am understanding it even in this season, it has got to do with actually your daily living. I think a lot of us have been presented a Jesus and a God who's got to do with the afterlife. Stay good so that you can live forever. Stay well so that you don't go to hell. Do this so that you are approved by God. But more and more, our inquiries are around justice. We want to understand how God is relevant for GBV and the stats in South Africa. We want to understand how God is relevant in the age where we are feeling demotivated and quite frankly poor, because there are so many people now who can afford luxury and fancy cars and big houses, so we are seeing. And so Holy Conference is firstly going to be looking at belief. Conceptually, why do we need to believe? And how can we become aware of what belief does for you? Because all life is governed by laws, and you have to believe that they hold, whether or not you believe in God. You have to believe in Sako right now, sitting, that the money in your bank account is there. You just have to believe it, and that by definition, you're not going to survive if you don't believe it. You have to believe that if you eat a banana, it's not going to turn. So there is a certain level of belief that we all have to exercise just to live in God's creation. So that's the fundamental undertone of what the conference is trying to reason about. The second thing then is to make a case for the God of the Bible and also in Jesus Christ. And the exciting thing, I mean, there's a segment I'm really excited about, which is a round table. You know, it's got discussants, it's got guys with PhDs, it's got people, there's I would say theologians, there's pastors, but there's also lay people, and there's to some degree atheists. I haven't gone all the way to atheism. Atheism would need to be a one-on-one dialogue, because then they believe in nothing, you know. So it's got, and we're going to. I'm busy preparing a paper for everyone, and we're going to be looking at how this can be relevant. How can faith be relevant for the now in the age of pop culture? And everyone needs to make a case for God being of value or not, you know. And so that's going to be really, for me, that's the exciting part. I mean, I gave a keynote, but the exciting part is really the rigor to invite the audience in to discuss. So we are doing something quite new, Ntsako. Really, it feels like birthing a different way to engage in the faith for a generation, because this generation is also woke. You know, I myself have seen, when I say, well, I'm a feminist and I've studied feminist studies, you can see people double, you know, they short circuit that, but you can't be a child of God and be a feminist. And then I go so far as to agitate, depending on how fun I'm feeling, to say, I think Jesus was the first feminist, you know, and then they just crash and burn in their minds. So really, it's those are the kinds. We're going to look at justice. We're going to look at activism. We're going to look at God of your intimacy. You know, a lot of people are outsourcing their God. You're learning him from memes. But can you get still enough? And when you are not still, that level of anxiety, how do we get an answer for those things? You know, how do we start to ground these concepts such as mental health and wellness in concepts and merge them in concepts such as the soul and the spirit and the body? So we're going to wrestle, really, it says wrestle with truth. We're going to allow truth and not assume that it already stands, and allow ourselves to make a case for it, as well as hear arguments against it, such that we have a strong, sturdy belief system that we are encouraging people. So we say it's for saints and ain'ts, you know, so that you can come. You can come because you will enrich the argument. You will enrich the discourse by presenting an argument against it.
That is brilliant. I think this is why it's important to have young people in your position. People like you who encourage such. Saints and ain'ts is probably one of the most brilliant themes. I haven't heard that in the church before. I'm enjoying it. I love it. So please tell us the details. What we know for now is that it's on the 11th of October. Spill the tea. When or where can we go to experience this?
Yes. So it is on the 11th of October. It's starting at 10 a.m. in Johannesburg. So it's the forum at the campus in Johannesburg, South Africa in particular. We are trying to make provision to live stream if we can get someone, because it's quite intensive in terms of technology. But keep your eyes peeled for that, maybe hopefully closer to the time. And tickets are on sale on Quicket at 950 Rand to start. And if you just look for Holy Conference on Quicket, you will find them. And then people can interact with me at Nizenande Machi on Instagram. I do interact on LinkedIn. For now, it's still housed under me, just to leverage some of those ways of conversation. And perhaps over time, we will be able to expand. We are hoping and praying.
Absolutely fantastic. It was a pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and we can't wait for the arguments, the discussions, and the excitement that comes with this. So we're looking forward to hearing your feedback. Perhaps we can touch base just after.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much, Ntsako. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good thing.
Amazing.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Samesies. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was Nizenande Machi, who is a developmental coach, speaking about the Holy Conference that's taking place on the 11th of October at the Forum campus in Johannesburg, South Africa. Sounds amazing. They call it the Saints and Ain'ts. Very interesting stuff there. And we love to see the arguments coming out. I don't think a lot of that happens in the church. You know, we kind of push the one agenda, but there are people with questions, and I'm glad that they're creating a space for those questions. I want us to take a quick break, but I also want to just touch on what she said, which is very, very brilliant. When she spoke about how God is the very first feminist. I want us to unpack that a little bit. Let me know your thoughts on WhatsApp, +2763 406 9126.